joining us now. I'm absolutely delighted. He is one of my favorites, and there's so many times that I listen to Tucker Carlson, and whether he was talking about the Trump University and saying, look, yeah, there are some problems with Trump University for sure, but is it any more of a scam than Princeton University today? I screamed. It was so funny. Tucker Carlson, of course, from the Daily Caller. We love him on Fox and Friends weekends as well, and he was on Fox and Friends this week hosting. He's with us now. Hey, Tucker, how are you?
Hey, Laura. Great. Thank you.
So it's not funny. I'm thinking of your Princeton comments as someone who lived in Princeton for a while, and they were right on target. But let's talk about what would have happened and how would it have been covered and or prosecuted if indeed we had protesters, maybe of a somewhat conservative inclination, surrounding an individual walking into an LGBTQ rally, surrounding individuals and physically assaulting them going into a Planned Parenthood rally, or, of course, surrounding individuals going into a Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders rally and physically assaulting them, screaming the most horrible things in any language at them, spitting at them, putting let's say it wasn't a Mexican flag. Let's say it was a rebel flag in front of their noses. What do you think the outcry would have been today?
Well, both our shows would be preempted by a 5-hour-long press conference from Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, followed by the announcement that the 101st Airborne was going to be airdropped onto the scene, of course, to preserve the civil rights of the protesters. I mean, of course, this would be
a hate crime.
The biggest story of the year.
Yeah,
exactly.
This would be a hate crime. And remember what they did, Tucker, with the one attendee of a Trump rally who cold-cocked that protester as he was exiting the arena. They talked about that for weeks, that Donald Trump encouraged that one protester to be hit by that one rally attendee. Now we have dozens upon dozens of mostly young Hispanic males marauding and surrounding women and young men and attacking them physically, and it's covered for about, I don't know, on the Today Show, Drew and I count, it was about 19 seconds.
Right. No, it's the Reginald Denny phenomenon where, the race and political views of the victim determine the amount of coverage. I mean, the press isn't even trying. They're actively working against Trump. It's obviously disgusting and a violation of their pledge as journalists to kind of try to tell the truth once in a while. But I think the story people are missing is that this wasn't just an anti-Trump rally yesterday. It was an anti-America rally.
Bingo.
They're waving Mexican flags. Why would you support the corrupt government of Mexico? But waving Mexican flags, burning American flags, and chanting, quote, "Make California Mexico again." This has nothing to do with Trump. These are pre-existing sentiments that are the result of totally uncontrolled immigration and no effort at all to assimilate those immigrants who are living in this country but feel allegiance to another. That's a massive problem that is way bigger than this presidential race, and nobody's even mentioning it.
No, and first of all, I would say to the thugs, I'm never calling them protesters, they're criminals. They don't have to worry about California as Mexico. It's already Mexico. Okay, so they've already accomplished that. So what they're trying to do is move eastward and take Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, move down to Texas, and then move it over to the East Coast. The goal is the wave.
But nobody is making the obvious point, which is you don't want to be Mexico. I mean, it's fine it's great to have Mexican Americans living here. It's not that, but Mexico is a terrible country. Like I grew up on the border of Mexico, and you can't even go there anymore. People don't go there because it's so corrupt and dangerous. It is so abusive to its own citizens, murders its own citizens in some cases. It's a totally dysfunctional, dystopian state. So anybody who says make California Mexico, I mean, that's like a deeply perverse thing to say, but somehow you're not allowed. You're supposed to pretend that Mexico is, a lot like Santa Barbara, but just with a different language. It's not. It's terrible.
We're talking to Tucker Carlson here on the Laura Ingraham Show. And meanwhile, Tucker, I'm going to play a soundbite for you. This is Hillary Clinton yesterday. And again, everyone focusing on how wonderful and powerful Hillary Clinton's, quote, foreign policy speech was yesterday. And she's, trashing Trump and then Trump's response. And Hillary comes out and she says, well, Trump is unhinged. Trump is terrible. Trump is, he has his hands on the nuclear codes. And meanwhile, the red line in Syria, the reset button in Russia, all the things that we know about. Let's listen.
We're choosing our next commander-in-chief, the person we count on to decide questions of war and peace, life and death. And like many across our country and around the world, I believe the person the Republicans have nominated for president cannot do the job.
And she went on to talk about how he's not only lying, he's unstable, he's erratic, there's no clarity in foreign policy. How effective was that?
Well, look, I mean, Trump rises to the bait in a way that's counterproductive. That part was true, in my view. But then she goes on to say, don't elect him because he'll start pointless, dangerous wars that America can't win. Well, let's see. She's done that. He hasn't. So, on the merits, it's a little ironic for her to be making that charge. But as a political matter, I don't think it works, and here's why. People who attack Trump even if the criticism is partly legitimate, tend to diminish themselves when they do it. They're not good at it. Is there a single person watching yesterday's speech who thought, I was going to vote for Trump, now I'm voting for Hillary? No. I mean, even if you agree with what she says, she hurts herself by saying it. You saw the same thing with Rubio. You saw the same thing with Bobby Jindal. In the end, you saw it with Ted Cruz. They try and fight Trump on his terms, and they lose because they are not natural brawlers. He is. Trump's the only person I've ever seen in politics who's enhanced by going on rants against his opponents. Everybody else is diminished by it. So leaving aside the merit of the case on either side, as a political matter, I just don't think she can beat Trump into submission with grouchy speeches about him. I just don't think that works.
And I don't think that focusing on foreign policy, and I have a feeling I know why they're focusing on foreign policy, and I'll get into that in a moment. But focusing on foreign policy, you would have to say we've had a really good foreign policy. So look at what we've done. And instead, she doesn't talk at all about their record in foreign policy yesterday. She just talks about how Trump shouldn't have the nuclear codes.
Well, the most hilarious part was he supports dictators who treat women like animals. Okay, how much money has he taken from, say, the Saudis? Has he taken tens of millions? Oh, no, that's you. You're the one whose family foundation has taken millions from the Saudis, from Oman, from the UAE, countries that don't let women vote or drive, that support, genital mutilation, that support polygamy. That's you who's taking the money, not him.
And your husband was giving speeches there, collecting millions of dollars in fees and donations at the Clinton Foundation as a result.
Literally. And if you care about the rights of women internationally, why are you taking $1 from the Saudis? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense.
Well, it would be interesting to see what, again, just dovetailing back to that rally last night and the violence outside of it. President Obama, he speaks about the Baltimore violence and how the police, they have to have a measured response, and about Trayvon Martin, about Freddie Gray, about Michael Brown and Ferguson. They come out and they address all of this stuff. But we have what we saw last night, and nary a peep from the Justice Department, from Loretta Lynch, from Obama, from Hillary. All we got, Tucker, was a tepid tweet from John Podesta that violence against any person at any political event should be condemned. That's all they said. Nothing else.
Well, because it's getting third world. I mean, that's why Trump exists in the first place, is because people who are watching this stuff see where this is headed. And it's headed in a really bad third world direction where, our justice system, which is the only reason America is a haven for banks or business, it's basically the thing we have above the rest of the world is we have a fairly administered system of justice, that is collapsing under the politicized Obama Justice Department. I don't think that that's a hysterical thing to say. I think it's true, and this is yet another example of it.
You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, and one thing I noticed, Tucker, when I was watching the YouTube videos, and for people who haven't hopped on YouTube to see the real close-ups of what these individuals, these thugs, were doing to these innocent Americans, I suggest that you do that, because they were spitting, and I know Spanish, I know the words they were saying to them, using the Spanish word for whore, and screaming at these women, all the things they were doing. And I looked at it and I saw this one woman who was surrounded, and I thought it reminded me of, was it Syria when they were surrounding Laura Logan? And then they went off and sexually assaulted her. And I'm like, okay, where's Cecile Richards? She's only defending the rights of people to kill women in the womb. But we don't stand up for an actual woman who was surrounded. And Lord knows what would have happened to her. If those cameras weren't going, who knows what would have happened to that woman.
And where were the rental cops standing there? Maybe they were off-duty actual policemen. But there were grown men standing there holding the doors, preventing her from coming into safety until the very end. And they finally let her in. But why were they standing there and watching this and doing nothing? I mean, what is wrong with America where grown men allow a woman to be surrounded by a howling mob and physically assaulted and do nothing. Like, what is that? I mean, are the lawyers that in charge that people have to choke back their natural instincts to save a woman in peril because they're worried about getting sued? Is that really where we are? I hope not.
Tucker Carlson here on the Laura Ingraham Show. Tucker, before we let you go, the California do or die for Bernie Sanders, I think he actually picks up more delegates in the proportional representation than Hillary does. I just sense it. I might be wrong, but I feel it and sense it. A lot of friends in California. I used to live there. You look at momentum shifts, and it seems like the energy and the emotion is with Bernie. How do you see this?
Well, my energy and emotion is with him. I mean, I think he's a lunatic whose solutions would make us Venezuela in a week. I don't buy any of his economic program, but I appreciate the fact that he's describing economic reality in America a little more precisely and accurately than Hillary is. And B, it is rigged, the Democratic nominating process. So I'm rooting for him. I talked to a high-level Hillary person yesterday who seemed very worried about them losing California. As you noted, it's proportional, so it's not really a loss, but symbolically, morally, it is a loss. The biggest, most left-wing state by population in the country. If she can't win that, look, he's going to force her to pick Elizabeth Warren as her running mate. That's my guess. Or someone equally lunatic, but there's really no one who matches Elizabeth Warren. He's going to do real damage to her once she gets the nomination.
Tucker, I agree. And this just broke, and Tucker will be talking about this, I'm sure. You're doing Fox and Friends this weekend, right? Tucker?
I sure am, yeah.
This just broke. The government reported on Friday that employers added just 38,000 workers in May, a significant slowdown in hiring that could push back a decision by the Fed to raise interest rates as the economic recovery appears to have stalled. This story is devastating. It's an indictment of the Obama economic record, and as he closes out his last year in office, 38,000 jobs, that's over. I'm telling you, this story is devastating. I hope you're all over this. I know you will be. Tucker, thank you so much. We'll be watching this weekend for sure.
Thanks a million, Laura.
All right, great to talk to you. We'll take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show.